Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have something truly extraordinary to share with you. A testimony that came to us through email from a 72-year-old woman named Margaret. And what she experienced during her near-death encounter will shake you to your core. This isn't just another story. This is a first-hand account of what happens when we cross that threshold between life and death. When heaven becomes more real than earth. When you meet Jesus face to face. So subscribe right now, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because Margaret's story is about to change how you see everything. Before we start Margaret's incredible testimony, let me tell you how this came to us. 3 weeks ago, we received an email with the subject line, "I need to share what happened to me," and when I opened it, I knew immediately this was something special, something powerful, something that needed to be heard. Margaret wrote to us from a small town in Ohio. She's 72 years old, a grandmother of 5, a retired school teacher, and by her own admission, someone who went to church her whole life but never really understood what faith meant. She said she was a Christian in name only, going through the motions, saying the right words, but never experiencing the reality of God's presence. Until February 14th of this year, when everything changed. What you're about to hear is Margaret's story in her own words. I'm simply going to narrate what she shared with us, because her experience is so powerful, so detailed, so transformative, that it needs to be told exactly as she described it. And I want you to listen with an open heart, because whether you're a believer or a skeptic, whether you've been walking with God for years or questioning if He even exists, Margaret's testimony has something for you. She begins her story on an ordinary Tuesday morning, February 14th, Valentine's Day. A day that started like any other, but ended with her standing at the threshold between this world and the next. Let's hear Margaret's story. Margaret writes, "I woke up that Tuesday morning feeling fine. Nothing unusual. Nothing out of the ordinary. I made my coffee. Sat down to read the newspaper like I do every morning. My husband Tom was still sleeping. We'd been married 48 years, and I loved these quiet morning moments before he woke up. Just me, my coffee, and the sunrise through our kitchen window. Around 7:30, I started feeling strange, a tightness in my chest that I tried to ignore. I thought it was just heartburn from the spicy dinner we'd had the night before. But then the pain got worse, much worse. It felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest, crushing me, stealing my breath. I tried to call out to Tom, but no sound would come. I managed to stumble to the bedroom, and I must have made enough noise because Tom woke up. The look on his face when he saw me, I'll never forget it. He immediately called 911, but I could feel myself fading. The pain was unbearable, and then suddenly, it wasn't. The pain just stopped. Everything stopped. And that's when it happened. I felt myself lifting, floating, rising up out of my body. I could see Tom on the phone, see the paramedics arriving, see them working on my body on our bedroom floor. But I wasn't in that body anymore. I was above it, watching, and I felt more alive than I'd ever felt in my entire 72 years of living. I know this sounds crazy, Margaret continues. I know people will think I was hallucinating, that it was just my brain shutting down, but I'm telling you, this was more real than anything I've ever experienced, more real than the keyboard I'm typing on right now, more real than the chair I'm sitting in. It was the most vivid, most clear, most absolutely real moment of my entire existence. As I floated above my body, I wasn't scared. I wasn't panicking. I felt this incredible peace wash over me, a peace I'd never known was possible. All the worries that had consumed me for 72 years, what people thought of me, whether I'd saved enough money, whether my children were disappointed in me, whether I'd wasted my life, all of it just melted away. None of it mattered anymore. I could see everything so clearly. I could see Tom crying, begging me not to leave him. I could see the paramedics working frantically, one of them saying, "We're losing her." I wanted to tell them I was okay, that I was right here, that I'd never felt better, but I couldn't, or maybe I just didn't want to, because something was pulling me, calling me, drawing me upward. There was a tunnel. I know everyone talks about the tunnel, and I used to roll my eyes at those stories, but it's real. It's absolutely real. It wasn't dark and scary like I'd imagined. It was filled with the most beautiful light I'd ever seen, warm, inviting, pure. And I knew, somehow I just knew, that at the end of that tunnel was home. Was everything I'd been searching for my whole life without even knowing I was searching. I began moving toward the light. Margaret describes, not walking, not flying, just moving, being drawn like a magnet. And the closer I got, the more intense the love became. That's the only way I can describe it. Love, but not the kind of love we experience here. This was love that had weight to it, substance, presence. It was tangible, overwhelming, all-consuming. As I moved through the tunnel, I started seeing things, images, moments from my life, but not just random moments. Every single interaction I'd ever had with another person, every word I'd spoken, every thought I'd thought, every action I'd taken. It was all there, playing out before me, and I could feel everything, not just what I felt, but what the other person felt. When I snapped at the grocery store clerk because I was in a hurry, I felt her hurt, her embarrassment, how my words made her feel small and insignificant. When I gossiped about my neighbor, I felt the pain those words caused, the damage to her reputation, the loneliness it created. When I ignored the homeless man on the corner because I was too busy, I felt his hopelessness, his desperation, his feeling of being invisible. But it wasn't just the bad things. I also felt the good. When I smiled at a stranger who was having a terrible day, I felt how that simple gesture gave her hope. When I tutored that struggling student after school, I felt how it changed the trajectory of his entire life. When I sat with my dying mother and held her hand, I felt the peace it brought her. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, rippled out in ways I never imagined. This life review, Margaret continues, it wasn't about judgment in the way I'd always been taught. It wasn't God sitting on a throne with a gavel saying guilty or not guilty. It was about understanding, really understanding for the first time, the weight of our choices, the power of our words, the impact of our actions. I saw how I'd spent so much of my life worried about the wrong things, worried about having the perfect house, the perfect body, the perfect image. Meanwhile, I'd ignored what really mattered: love, kindness, connection, compassion. I'd gone to church every Sunday for 72 years. I'd sung the hymns, said the prayers, served on the committees. But I'd missed the whole point. I'd been religious without being loving, faithful without being kind, righteous without being compassionate. There was one moment that broke me. I saw myself at 45 years old. My daughter had come to me wanting to talk about her marriage struggles, and I was too busy planning the church bake sale to really listen. I gave her some quick advice, some Bible verses, some religious platitudes, and sent her on her way. I felt in that moment how alone she felt, how desperate she was for her mother to truly see her, truly hear her, truly care. And I'd been too busy being busy for God to actually be like God. I wept, though I had no physical body to produce tears. I wept in my spirit. How had I gotten it so wrong? How had I lived 72 years and missed the simplest truth that love is all that matters, that kindness is all that counts, that connection is all that lasts? And then, Margaret writes, at the end of the tunnel, I saw him, Jesus, standing there in the most brilliant light, but somehow I could look directly at him without being blinded. His face, oh, his face, I can't describe it adequately. It was beautiful beyond words, but it wasn't just physical beauty. It was the beauty of perfect love, perfect peace, perfect joy, all radiating from his being. The moment I saw him, I fell. I don't know how you fall when you don't have a body, but I fell. In worship, in awe, in complete and utter surrender. Everything I thought I knew about Jesus from Sunday school, from church, from Bible studies, it was all just shadows compared to the reality standing before me. He was so much more, so much bigger, so much more magnificent than anything I'd imagined. But here's what shocked me most. His eyes. When he looked at me, there was no condemnation, no disappointment, no anger about all the times I'd failed. There was only love, pure, unconditional, overwhelming love. The kind of love I'd spent my whole life searching for in human relationships. The kind of love that sees all your flaws, all your failures, all your darkness, and loves you anyway, completely, fully, eternally. He smiled at me, and in that smile was every good thing I'd ever wanted, every deep longing I'd ever had, every empty place in my soul, filled, completed, satisfied. And he spoke, not with audible words, but somehow I heard him clearly, soul to soul, spirit to spirit. Margaret, you're home now. You're finally home. I found myself asking questions. Margaret recounts, not out loud, because I still had no physical voice. But he heard my thoughts. He knew every question before I even formed it. And he answered. Sometimes with words, sometimes with just a look, sometimes with a knowing that suddenly filled my understanding. I asked him, why didn't I feel this close to you when I was alive? I went to church. I prayed. I read my Bible. Why did you always feel so far away? And he showed me, in an instant. I understood. It wasn't that he was far. It was that I'd never truly surrendered. I'd been trying to add Jesus to my life instead of making him my life. I'd wanted his blessings without his lordship, his heaven without his holiness, his salvation without transformation. He showed me all the times he'd been trying to get my attention. The sunset that took my breath away, that was him. The stranger who said exactly what I needed to hear, that was him. The illness that forced me to slow down, that was him. The loss that drove me to my knees, that was him. He'd been pursuing me every single day of my 72 years, and I'd been too busy, too distracted, too focused on religious activity to notice. I asked him about all the debates, all the theological arguments, all the denominational divisions, and he looked so sad. None of that matters, Margaret. None of it. What matters is love. Do you love me? Do you love others? That's it. That's the whole thing. Everything else is just noise, distraction, missing the point. Then he showed me things, Margaret continues, things about heaven, about reality, about the way things truly are, and it's so different from what we're taught, so much bigger than our little boxes and categories and doctrines. Heaven isn't some far-off place in the sky. It's a dimension, a reality that exists right alongside our earthly reality, separated by the thinnest of veils. He showed me that our loved ones who've passed, they're not far away. They're right here, just on the other side, watching, loving, cheering us on, praying for us. My mother was there, my father, my sister who died when I was young, all of them. And they were so alive, so vibrant, so full of joy. He showed me that every prayer we pray is heard, every single one. No prayer is too small, too insignificant, too selfish. He hears them all, and He's answering, maybe not always in the way we want or the timing we want, but He's always working, always moving, always orchestrating things we can't see for purposes we don't yet understand. He showed me angels, real angels, not the chubby babies with harps we see in paintings, but powerful, magnificent beings of light, warriors, servants, messengers. He showed me that we each have angels assigned to us, protecting us, guiding us, intervening in ways we never know. All those near misses, all those times we just barely escaped danger, all those moments when things worked out against all odds. That was them. That was heaven intervening in earth. Jesus showed me the bigger picture. Margaret writes, He let me see events from His perspective, from heaven's viewpoint, and suddenly everything made sense. All the suffering, all the pain, all the loss, all the questions of why. I saw how it all fits together, how it all has purpose, how He's weaving everything into something beautiful. He showed me the hardships I'd faced, my miscarriage at 30, my cancer diagnosis at 55, my son's addiction, my financial struggles. And I saw how each one, as painful as it was, shaped me, refined me, prepared me for something greater. The miscarriage taught me compassion for others walking through loss. The cancer taught me to treasure each day. My son's addiction taught me unconditional love and the power of persistent prayer. The financial struggles taught me dependence on God and generosity toward others. Nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one sleepless night, not one moment of pain. He'd been working all things together for good, exactly like His word says, but I'd been too close to see it, too focused on the pain to see the purpose, too caught up in the moment to see the bigger picture. He showed me people I'd affected without even knowing it. A cashier I'd smiled at 20 years ago who was contemplating suicide that day, and my simple kindness gave her a reason to live one more day, which led to her getting help, finding Jesus, and now she's a counselor saving other lives. A student I'd encouraged who went on to become a teacher who's now impacting hundreds of children. Ripples. Everything we do creates ripples that spread far beyond what we can see. Then Jesus said something that changed everything. Margaret recounts. He said, Margaret, it's not your time yet. You can stay here with me, and we'll spend eternity together. That's always been the plan. Or you can go back and finish what I started in you. There's still work to do, still people to reach, still love to give. The choice is yours. I was torn. Part of me wanted to stay so badly. The peace, the joy, the love, the absence of all pain and fear and worry. It was intoxicating. How could I go back to that heavy physical body, back to that world of suffering and stress, back to that life that suddenly seemed so small and pointless? But then He showed me Tom, my husband, kneeling beside my body in the ambulance, praying, begging God to give him more time with me. I saw my children gathered at the hospital, holding each other, crying, not ready to say goodbye. I saw my grandchildren, the youngest only 2 years old, who wouldn't remember me if I didn't go back. And Jesus showed me more. He showed me a neighbor I'd barely spoken to, who was about to walk away from God completely. But my testimony could bring her back. He showed me a young woman who would come into my life next year, contemplating abortion, who would choose life because of my story. He showed me a ministry I would be part of, reaching people in my final years who needed to hear that it's never too late to truly live. I'll go back, I said. Even though every part of me wanted to stay, I'll go back and finish the work. The moment I made that choice, Margaret writes, Jesus touched my forehead, and suddenly I was being pulled backward, away from him, away from that beautiful light, back through the tunnel, and the sadness I felt leaving his presence was almost unbearable. I wanted to change my mind, to say, wait, let me stay, but it was too late. I was already moving, already returning. Then, slam. I was back in my body, and the contrast was shocking. Heaven had been weightless, effortless, painless, but this body felt heavy, dense, limited. And the pain came rushing back, the chest pain, the difficulty breathing, the physical sensations I'd been free from moments before. I wanted to scream, take me back. I don't want to be here anymore. I heard voices, urgent voices. We've got her back. She's breathing. BP is stabilizing. I tried to open my eyes, but they felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Everything was foggy, confusing, disorienting. I could hear Tom crying, saying my name over and over. Margaret, please, come back to me, please. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, I managed to open my eyes. The fluorescent lights of the ambulance were so harsh compared to the warm light of heaven. Everything looked dull, colorless, flat. I wanted to tell them what I'd seen, where I'd been, who I'd met. But I couldn't form the words yet. All I could do was whisper. I saw him. I saw Jesus. And everything is going to be okay. The next few days in the hospital were surreal. Margaret continues. The doctors said I'd had a massive heart attack. I was clinically dead for 4 minutes. They said it was a miracle I survived, and an even bigger miracle that I had no brain damage, no lasting effects. But I knew the truth. It wasn't just medicine that brought me back. It was Jesus, giving me more time, more opportunity, more chances to get it right. As I lay in that hospital bed, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen, what I'd learned, what Jesus had shown me. It was like someone had taken blinders off my eyes. For 72 years, I'd been sleepwalking through life, going through religious motions, checking spiritual boxes, but never really living, never really loving, never really understanding what it was all about. I started seeing people differently. The nurses caring for me, I saw them with new eyes. I saw the tiredness in their faces, the burden they carried, the sacrifices they made, and I thanked each one, really thanked them, looked them in the eyes, and let them know they mattered. One young nurse broke down crying. She said, I've been here 5 years and no patient has ever really seen me before. I called my children to my bedside one by one, and I apologized. I apologized for all the times I'd been too busy to really listen, too distracted to really see them, too focused on appearing like the perfect Christian family to actually be the loving family they needed. I told them about my experience, about meeting Jesus, about what he showed me. Some believed me immediately, others were skeptical, but they all felt the change in me. When I finally got home, Margaret writes, everything looked the same, but I was completely different. My house, my neighborhood, my daily routine, all the same. But I saw it all through new eyes, heaven eyes, eternal perspective. Nothing seemed important that used to consume me, and everything I'd overlooked suddenly mattered immensely. I started living like every day was a gift, because it is. I stopped rushing through conversations. I put my phone away. I looked people in the eyes. I really listened. I asked questions and waited for real answers. I stopped being so busy being religious and started simply being present, being kind, being real. I reached out to people I'd hurt, people I'd judged, gossiped about, dismissed. I asked for forgiveness. Some forgave me immediately. Others needed time. One person never responded, and that's okay. I did what Jesus called me to do. I released the weight I'd been carrying. I started a practice of asking Jesus every morning, "Who do you want me to love today?" And every single day, he would bring someone to mind, a neighbor, a cashier, a stranger at the doctor's office, the woman at the library, and I would intentionally love them. A smile, a word of encouragement, a listening ear, a helping hand. Simple things, but I'd learned in heaven that simple things matter most. My relationship with Tom deepened in ways I never thought possible after 48 years of marriage. I started really seeing him, appreciating him, loving him, not taking him for granted. He said, "I feel like I'm married to a different woman," and he was right. I was different. I'd met Jesus, and you can't meet Jesus and stay the same. I felt this overwhelming need to share what happened to me. Margaret continues, "Not to convince skeptics, not to prove anything, but simply to tell the truth, to let people know what's waiting on the other side, to help them understand what really matters before it's too late for them too." At first I was scared. I thought people would think I was crazy, having delusions, making things up for attention. But Jesus had told me to share, and I'd promised him I would. So I started small, sharing with my Bible study group, and the response was overwhelming. Women crying, sharing their own experiences, admitting their own struggles with feeling distant from God. Then I spoke at my church. The pastor was hesitant at first, worried it was too out there, too unconventional, but he let me share. And that Sunday, 23 people gave their lives to Jesus, really gave their lives, not just raised a hand or said a prayer, but truly surrendered, truly committed, truly decided to live differently. The pastor said in 30 years of ministry, he'd never seen such a genuine response. I started visiting hospitals, sitting with people facing death, holding their hands, telling them about the light, about Jesus, about the peace that's waiting. Some of them passed away shortly after our conversations, but their families told me they went peacefully. No fear, no panic, just peace. Because they knew, they finally knew what was waiting on the other side. That's when I decided to email your channel, because I knew this message needed to reach beyond my small town, beyond my small circle. It needs to reach you, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you believe or don't believe. It's been 8 months since my near-death experience, Margaret writes, and I'm still discovering new layers of what Jesus showed me, still processing, still learning, still growing. It's like he downloaded eternity into my finite mind, and it takes time to unpack it all. My priorities are completely different now. I used to worry about what people thought of me. Now I only care what Jesus thinks. I used to stress about having enough money. Now I trust his provision and give generously. I used to fear death. Now I see it as going home, like a graduation, a promotion, a door opening to something better. I've lost some friends, people who think I'm too radical now, too intense, too focused on Jesus. They liked the old Margaret who showed up to church events and potlucks, but never rocked the boat, never challenged anyone, never lived too differently. But I've gained new friends, deeper friendships, real relationships with people who are hungry for authenticity, desperate for truth, tired of playing religious games. My health is good. The doctors are amazed at my recovery. They say I shouldn't be doing as well as I am. But again, I know the truth. Jesus isn't finished with me yet. He has plans, purposes, people I'm supposed to reach, and until that work is complete, He's keeping me here, sustaining me, strengthening me. I wake up every morning grateful. Even when I have pain, even when I'm tired, even when life is hard, I'm grateful. Because I've seen the alternative. I know what's coming. And knowing that, really knowing that, changes everything about how you live today. Here's what I want you to understand, Margaret writes in closing, and this is why I'm sharing my story with everyone who will listen. You don't have to wait until you're 72 and have a heart attack to discover what really matters. You don't have to wait until you're dying to start really living. You can make the choice right now, today, this moment, to stop sleepwalking through life and wake up to what's real. Jesus is real. Heaven is real. Eternity is real. And every single choice you make, every word you speak, every action you take, it all matters. It all counts. It all creates ripples that spread into eternity. You think your life is insignificant, that you don't matter, that nothing you do makes a difference. But I'm telling you, having seen from heaven's perspective, you matter more than you could possibly imagine. That person you smiled at today, you might have saved their life. That encouraging word you spoke, it might have given someone hope to keep going. That prayer you prayed, it moved heaven. That act of kindness, it created ripples you'll never see on earth, but you'll see in eternity. Everything matters. Every single thing. Stop waiting to live. Stop putting off forgiveness. Stop delaying that conversation. Stop holding grudges. Stop wasting time on things that won't matter in 100 years. Love people now. Tell them now. Forgive now. Live now. Because I promise you, I absolutely promise you, when you're standing where I stood, looking at your life from heaven's perspective, you won't regret loving too much. You'll only regret not loving enough. And if you don't know Jesus, if you've been religious like I was without really knowing Him, please don't wait. He's right there, right now, waiting for you to truly surrender, to truly open your heart, to truly let Him in, not just intellectually, not just religiously, but really, fully, completely, because meeting Him here in this life is good. But trust me, it's nothing compared to meeting Him face to face. And I want that for you. I want you to experience that love, that peace, that joy, that home. Now, as we close Margaret's incredible testimony, I want to speak directly to you. Margaret's story isn't just an interesting account of what happens after death. It's a wake-up call for all of us who are still living, still breathing, still have time to get it right. Maybe you're watching this and you've been going through the motions just like Margaret was. Church on Sundays, prayers at meals, but no real relationship with Jesus. Today can be the day that changes. You don't need a near-death experience. You just need to open your heart and say, Jesus, I want what Margaret found. I want to really know you, not just know about you. I surrender. I'm all in. Maybe you've been carrying unforgiveness, holding grudges, nursing bitterness, and Margaret's life review convicted you. You felt that weight, that reminder that every action has eternal consequences. Let it go today, right now. Forgive, release, set yourself free. Maybe you've been taking life for granted, rushing through your days, missing the moments that matter. Stop, slow down, look people in the eyes, really listen, really love, make every day count, because none of us know when our Tuesday morning will turn into our last day. I want you to do something right now. Type in the comments, "I choose to really live." Make that declaration, seal that decision. And then I want you to share this video. Share Margaret's story, because someone in your life needs to hear this. Someone is sleepwalking through life. Someone is on the edge of giving up. Someone needs to know that Jesus is real and heaven is waiting. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, because we're going to keep sharing testimonies like Margaret's. Real stories, real encounters, real transformations. This is what we're about. Not religion, not rules, not rituals, but real relationship with Jesus. Margaret, if you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for your courage to share. Thank you for your obedience to Jesus. Thank you for reminding all of us what really matters. Your story is already changing lives, and it's going to continue changing lives for years to come. And to everyone watching, remember, you're one heartbeat away from eternity. Live like it, love like it, give like it, forgive like it, because everything, absolutely everything, is going to make sense when you see Jesus face to face. Don't wait until then to start living the life He's calling you to now. God bless you. We'll see you in the next testimony. Until then, really live, really love, really follow Jesus. Not someday, today.